Last week we talked about the crucifixion and about Easter and what that was all about. The week before that, remember, we were talking about Jacob. Let me get my hold. Well, okay, we'll do that. We were talking about Jacob. He went and met his uncle Laban. He got married 4 times. He had 12 children. And remember, he worked for his uncle for 7 years, taking care of his uncle's sheep in order to earn Rachel to be his wife. And his uncle tricked him and he married Leah. So he worked for another 7 years to pay for Rachel. So he had both Leah and Rachel and then their handmaids. And he worked for Laban for those 14 years to pay for his wives. Then the time came when Jacob said, okay, I've paid my debt, I'm done. Laban said, you know what, while you have been in charge of my herds, they have grown and I've become a rich man. So I don't want you to leave. So you tell me what I can pay you to make you stay here and take care of my sheep for me. So Jacob said, well, I need to start supplying for my family or my kids aren't going to have anything to inherit. So I tell you what we're going to do. Every time your sheep have a lamb that is not white, I will take it for my pay. And every time your goats have a spotted baby, I will take that for my pay. And you can take the favored colored ones. White is the more favored color of wool because it's easier to dye. You can't dye black wool other colors. And even the grays and browns are harder to dye. So the white is the preferred. The solid colored goats were the preferred. So
can I borrow the van keys? Somebody, not saying who, but somebody left their headlights on.
Have a good day.
Not me, my van starts.
Solid colored goats were the preferred. So Jacob was going to take the least preferred of the animals for his pay. Laban thought this was a really good idea, and he said, okay, I'll go for that. And then, behind Jacob's back, that night, he sent his sons into the herds, and they took all the spotted and odd-colored animals and took them 3 days away as a separate herd, so Jacob couldn't claim them as his pay. So right off the bat, he started by giving him the wrong wife in the first place, cheating him. So he has cheated him again from his salaries. So it's distracting hearing the van out there. Jacob, of course, was in touch with God. And he had a dream that if he took certain branches of trees and he cut stripes in them and laid them in the troughs, then the animals would have spotted babies. So he did that. When the strong, healthy animals were getting ready for breeding time, he put the stripped branches in the water. But when the weak animals were getting ready to breed, he didn't. And the babies that were born were spotted and striped. And people have thought this quite a miracle. And God performs a lot of miracles. Sometimes he performs them just out of the blue without any scientific backing behind it. But sometimes he just twists the natural laws he has put into our order to serve our purposes. We have recently discovered that there are some chemicals in some tree branches that will cause a mutation of the coloration gene in sheep and goats.
How did Jacob know that?
God told him. It's the only way he could have known. So after several years, about 6 years, actually, Jacob had this big, very colorful, very strong herd of sheep and goats. And his father-in-law Laban had a very small, weakly herd of white-colored animals. And Jacob now thought it was time to make a change. But we'll talk about that next week. I just wanna be a sheep, ba, ba, ba. I just wanna be a sheep, ba, ba, ba. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. I just wanna be a sheep, ba, 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 ba. I just wanna be a sheep, ba, 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 ba. I just wanna be a sheep, ba, 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 ba. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. I just wanna be a sheep, ba,